Good morning. I am Miss Leigh-Ann from the Carbondale Public Library, and coming this week, we are going to begin our winter challenge, and the theme is Reading Takes Us Places. So our first visit is going to be Europe. If you explore our interactive library here, you will find some, right here, those countries that are in bold. You'll find some virtual tours. You'll find some links to some of our e-resources. And then on the bottom, there'll be book suggestions with links to the catalog so you can put them on hold. So I hope you check that out. And like I said, we're going to start with Europe. So here's my map. And Europe is right over here. We have Russia here, that part of it's part of Europe and part of it's part of Asia. But we are going to be focusing on Europe, right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is tell you about some books, and then we have an art project. So the first book I'm going to tell you about is The Seven Continents, Europe. It is by Joanna Costa-Newfink, published by Children's Press. And this is just an overview of Europe. So there's lots of facts, there's a map so you can see Europe and some of the countries that are in Europe. And, the facts are both past and present. You can learn quite a bit about Europe in there and get an introduction. Then we have Where is Stonehenge? That is part of the Where Is series. And this one is by True Kelly, published by Penguin. And do you know where Stonehenge is? It is in England. That's our first stop, is England. Let's see. And from the back cover it says, which of these facts are true? It is as old as the Great Pyramids. It may have been a place to honor the dead. Many things about it are still mysteries, or all of the above. But you know what? I'm not going to give it away. You'll have to check out the book to find out which facts are true. The next book is a chapter book. And we're going to visit Sweden with Pippi Longstocking. That is by Astrid Lindgren. This version is translated by Susan Baer and illustrated by Ingrid Bang Niemann. Yeah, did you know that Pippi Longstocking was originally written in Swedish? Well, now you do. And it's about Pippi, a 9-year-old girl, and she lives by herself, no adults. And she moves into a house with neighbors Tommy and Annika. And Tommy and Annika have lots of new adventures with Pippi. You'll have to read and see what kind of adventures they have. And the last book I'm going to tell you about is Gabriella's Song by Candace Fleming, illustrated by Giselle Potter, and published by Athenaeum Books for young readers. And here, Gabriella hears music all over Venice, which is in Italy. And the music that she starts humming it, and a baker hears it, and then he hums it, and someone else hears it, and then someone else hears it, and they each hear something a little different when they hear the music. So that's the funny thing about music, is it means a little something different to everyone. And finally, a music composer hears it. That's someone who writes music. And he writes a symphony based on it. So that's pretty cool, that just that little tune he heard through his window and inspired his symphony. So now we're going to get to our project, and we are going to make Polish folk art. Let's see if I can get this pronunciation right. The Vincinanki. So I'm not quite sure how well I did there, but that is the word for Polish folk art, and it is also known in Ukraine and Belarus. I'm not going to try to pronounce those words too. So it stands for paper cut design. And let me see here. So here's one example that I made. This one's a simple version, just to kind of give you an idea. It became popular in Poland in the mid-1800s, so that's over 150 years. I'm going to show you how you can make your own project. First, I'll show you what you need, and then we'll get started with how to make it. I'm going to zoom in to the project so you can see everything. So first I am going to tell you about the material you are going to need. So you will need colored paper. I already have these ones cut out, but you can see some colored paper here. You will need one piece for the background, and then you will need other pieces of paper for your design. You will need, I recommend, a piece of scrap paper and pencil so you can sketch out your design before you're ready to cut it. That will help you focus and give you an idea of what you want to do. And of course you will need glue. So one thing about this kind of project is you must take your time. Don't rush it. Okay. So we're going to start with this project. Some common themes, like here I have some birds. Birds are very popular, particularly roosters. And there's different ways to do colors. I am going to do my background in black and then layer it with colors. But some are just one color altogether. Some are have a back color like the black and then do the details in color. So there's various ways to do this. And then another way, something else about this project is that they're in symmetry. So symmetry is when both sides are the same. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my black paper here. I'm going to do a tree with some birds and some leaves. So to make sure both the sides of my tree are equal, I am going to cut it folded in half. And I'm going to open it up. There we go. I think I'm going to make this a little shorter. Now I will say to come out a little wider than I originally wanted, but that's okay. Sometimes that happens. Okay, so I'm going to move those pieces to the side. Now we have our base. I already did my birds. And here I made the bird outline and then used the eye and the wings for colors. I made two exactly the same. And then I did one leaf for each side. The same thing, I did a black background and two colors inside. And then I'm going to do one more leaf. I am going to show you how I did that one. So to make sure my pieces are the same, I'm going to fold this in half. I did create patterns for myself, and so I'm going to use one of my patterns. And I'm going to trace my leaf. So I trace my leaf, now I'm just going to cut it out. Like I said, I folded the paper in half so I get two leaves the same shape and size. There we go, two. I'm just going to put them on the bottom right here so you can see them on the white paper. So now I'm going to layer the colors that I already cut out on there. And sometimes you do have to play around with it to get it to fit the way it's supposed to. Oops, I think I had it right the first time. Okay, so then there's one layer. And our second layer. So now I'll put on my green on this one. Oops. So flip this around. You can see here, those are all the patterns I was talking about. So I do recommend laying it out before you glue. But actually, I think I am going to make this a little skinnier. That's why I recommend using a pattern. I didn't use a pattern for that one. I'm going to trim that just a little. And sometimes that's what happens when you don't use a pattern. Okay. So there. And I'll give that a little trim. I want that a little shorter. Okay. So there we go. So you lay it out so you can see how you want it. And because it's symmetry, I'm going to put my tree in the middle. I'm going to have my birds facing each other. You can also have them facing away, but I want my birds facing each other. And then when I put the leaves on, I'll put them in the same position. I'm going to slide them over. Put my tree down. And you can use any kind of paper will work. Regular colored computer paper, construction paper. The computer paper is probably easier to cut out, but construction paper works too. I did use construction paper on mine. And like I mentioned earlier, you definitely want to take your time. This is taking me a little faster because I did pre-cut my materials and I had already thought out what I wanted to show you. But definitely take your time. So I'm going to just turn this around so I can see how I want my leaves here. And you can try to get them as close as you can, but it's okay if they're not perfect. Okay. And there we have our Polish folk art picture. And you can do anything you want, just symmetry is important for authentic, to make it more authentic. And birds are pretty easy, like these kind of birds are pretty simple ways to go, and leaves and flowers. But you can do any kind of design you want. And there'll be kits at the library too that will have some paper in it for you and instructions so you can make it at home. But you can still make it at home even if you can't stop by and pick up a kit. So I hope you enjoy this project, and I will be back next week with when we travel to Asia. Right, have a good week. Bye.